What is extremely rare, but people think it's very common? Amnesia. It's common in fiction because it's convenient in ways that makes things easy for the writers. For example, explaining why someone's dark past is a secret which can be revealed later. At the climax of the story, in real life, is very rare and doesn't work like people think it does. I believe it is medical fact that amnesia can be cured by delivering a second traumatic blow to the head, which reverses the effects of the first one. Successfully saving someone trapped by a fire. Via re-entering a burning building, the mortality rate for this is really high, and fire departments have petitioned to stop showing this in movies, because it usually results in another life being lost. My uncle died doing this. I was around 7 or so. I think he was in his early 20s. He was staying with some people and the house caught fire. He made it out but went back in to get someone and didn't make it. I remember him being very fun. We lived in different states, so I didn't see him often, but later learned that he dealt with addiction and had some struggles. Well, going back in wasn't the best choice. Going back in let me know that he really did care about others. Even thought it ended poorly. This was in the early 90s and was definitely a TV trope. The whole thing was just really sad. Successfully suing a company for millions. Some Redditors will have you believe that any minor inconvenience should earn you some kind of massive payout. And the comments will assure you that the company will do anything to avoid bad PR. Casting director here. Having a career in acting. I don't mean being famous, I mean paying your bills with acting alone. I would hazard being an exclusively working actor is about 1% of actors, but the amount of people still going into acting tells me people think otherwise. I'm guessing the same is true for musicians. Stranger abductions of children represent less than 1% of all missing child cases in the US. At least, they're mostly runaways or family abductions. It's the same with sex trafficking. People think it's abductions of children and teens. Those are at the most 3%. The rest are people convinced to do it or people dealing with what we used to call pimps. They might be forced due to addiction or poverty, but it's extremely rare for sex trafficking victims to have been kidnapped. People think it happens to 800,000 kids a year. If that were true, everyone would know families affected. A typical elementary school would lose a couple kids every year. There are over 100 meters kids in the US. It happens less than 100 times a year. Not sure if I'd really say rare, but I think a lot of people think it's common for legislators to introduce bills with the intention of trying to pass them. But for most representatives, they're introducing bills that they know will never pass so they can show their constituents they stuck to their campaign promises and blame it on the other side, when they never even really did anything to even try to get at a hearing. I work in policy and, when I first started, I knew it was bad. But dear God, it's even worse than I thought. Blimps. There are only around 25 left. It would be cool if there were more blimps and hot air balloons. There is probably some big reason why they aren't a thing anymore, but they are amazing. I actually looked up this answer recently for my son. A blimp uses a ton of helium and they just aren't cost efficient, if I remember correctly. It's around $100,000 to fill one blimp with helium. I think of the 5-ish still in existence, only about half are still being used. Natural triplets. Being awake during a surgery under general anesthesia. Patients worry about it all the time. But I've been doing this 19 years and never seen a real case of this. My dad woke up during anesthesia. Scared the crap out of the doctors operating on him. He wanted spaghetti after the surgery and remembers none of this. I've never seen my father eat spaghetti before or since this day. Green eyes. I have a chicken with green eyes. It's even more rare in chickens than in humans, with only a few breeds having them. Her name is Olive. They're very common if you're a cat. Not so much for humans though. I went to a cobbler once to get my shoes fixed. The little old man who worked there had a cat who lived at the shop and insisted on taking a picture of me holding the cat. Because we had the same eyes and his wife would never believe it if there wasn't a picture, so we had a little me plus cat photo shoot. Overall very cute experience. Savant abilities in autism. we have Rain Man to thank for that. Largely, that there are big questions as to whether the guy this was based on actually should have been diagnosed with something other than ASD. There are geniuses in the autistic population, that they are not more prevalent than in the normal population, both can co-occurs, that they aren't linked. Going missing in the Bermuda Triangle. Yeah, and a lot of the missing cases didn't even occur within it. Shark attacks resulting in death. Plane crashes. I know your lizard brain doesn't like it, but flying is the safest mode of transportation. Very few things to crash into or otherwise result in an accident. You're not going to hit a patch of ice, hydroplane, fall asleep, have someone else run into you, or any of the other problems that are common with cars. Places where collisions may occur tend to be heavily monitored by air traffic control, which has numerous safety checks and guidelines. Mechanical failures have extensive checks and redundancies upon redundancies. Another thing that helps is that it's predominantly public transportation. You see more accidents with small private planes where the owner is flying it. Compare it to how you see far fewer bus accidents than personal vehicles. Pearls. Of all the fine stones, I know it classifies differently, but for jewelry, it's basically a stone. It's the one that has to happen in an oyster, which only exist on Earth. Other planets are literally raining diamonds. They're so common, but pearls are probably one of the rarest substances to exist. My ex ordered blackened oysters at this place in Baton Rouge one time and bit down on a natural pearl. Half of it was blackened and half of it was still all pearlescent. It's still one of my favorite possessions to this day, and I want to get it made into a necklace, but can't decide on a setting. Your comment makes me want to revisit this venture. Helium on Earth, we don't think twice about it, but it's only about 5 ppm of the Earth's atmosphere. Some estimates say it could run out of helium by 2030. It's the only element on the planet that is a completely non-renewable resource as it seeps out of the ground and rises up. It's the only element to escape Earth's gravity, so it's gone forever. OCD. On top of that, people truly don't realize what OCD is. It's not always counting, being super clean, or washing your hands a ton. It's having to do something over and over again until it feels right, or your brain convinces you that something horrible will happen. It's really horrible intrusive thoughts that make you feel legitimately crazy. Not what if I did this silly thing. OCD is not something you want to have. Natural red hair. For someone to walk down a dark alley and get raped, you are more likely to get raped at a house party than you are on the way back from that house party. This is also true of child molestations. As a kid, I was made to think there were strangers willing to give out candy and molest me everywhere. In reality, most assaults on both children and adults are done by someone known to the victim and or the family. Men with unnaturally big schlongs. Thank you very much for watching. In the comments below the video, tell us what other rare phenomena you know of. And don't forget to watch our other videos.